So this is my review on the Behringer Craves. As you can see by this sequence, things can get messy very easily. Let's start from the beginning. Does the Crave sound good? Right, let's try and take everything off so we've got everything back to some kind of normality. Right, okay. Right, sounds plenty good to me. Let's put some LFO modulation onto the oscillator mod. Lovely. Let's tune it. Let's put the keyboard CV into the LFO rate. Lovely and clean. Lovely. Okay, next thing I wanted to talk about, let's go from, let's make a little sequence. Or just use this one. Right. Let's switch this sequence up. We've got a random assign here, or a random out, whichever you want to look at it. And instead of just sending it to the cutoff, we're going to mult it. And the first mult is going to go into a mixer. And then that mixer is going to go into the cutoff. So now we have an amount. Full random, no random, a little bit of random. Now we're going to go from the gate and we're going to put it in VC mix 1, which is the other side. So that's 1 and that's 2. So now we have a combination. Now what we're going to do is we're going to modulate that. One of the reasons that I got 2 of these is because I found that as good as it was, I was running out of mults and I was running out of VC mixes and attenuators, so it made sense to get another one. Let's stop the sequence for a second. It got to the point where I wanted something that could play with the Craves. This seemed to be the best solution, was to get another Crave, put it next to it, and the amount that you get for the money, and then having 2 of them, beat out a lot of other synths that were for sale, semi-modular, modular. If you was to go into Euro Rackland and you was to buy 2 oscillators, 2 LFOs, 2 envelopes, 2 mixers, 2 sets of mults, the list is endless, and sequencers, you would be in the thousands very, very quickly. This was a surefire way of me getting some of the benefits of modular stuff, maybe 60, 70, 80% with other gear, without having to spend thousands. It's very convenient as well. They're USB and everything seems to work perfectly. But let's go back to the sequence for a second and see what else we can do. So we've got the gate pulsing on mix 1 and random cut-off steps on every note on 2. So we'll put it in the middle for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to control this VC mix, because if we move it here, we've got this, and if we move it here, we've got this. so it sounds really good when you're moving it backwards and forwards. So instead of doing that, we'll get another LFO, and we'll get it from our second crave. That's me doing it really fast. Kind of really want a smooth transition, and really you want more of the random than you do the gate, because the gate's going to sound a bit too disturbing, let's say, a bit clicky, for lack of a better word. So as you can see, these get very not messy, they get very complicated very quickly, these sequences that you do. They sound really good. Let's play another pattern and we'll keep this same modulation. There's definitely no question these things do sound really good. Okay, another trick. This is something I haven't really seen anywhere, to be honest. If you want to modulate FM, one thing I like to do is get a nice sequence. We'll have no modulation for now. Right, we want to send an LFO to here. We want to do it so we've tuned it nicely. So we'll send it to the mix, we'll send the VC mix into the FM, so now we've got LFO into there we go. You see as I bring it up, we get more FM. Okay, so we tuned it quite nicely there. But one of the things I like to do is get a high pitch sequence, so like this, let's pitch it up. And then use the FM to bring the bass in. And we have to tune it first, so bear with me a second. There we go. So you could have this rolling for a bit of a nice bit of reverb, and then as you cut the reverb out, you can bring in. So that's really nice. It's a really nice way to bring in FM into a sound, instead of just making an FM sound or making any other sound. You can make a normal sound and then bring FM into it, and then maybe use the melody as now the bass line. Completely switches things up like that. Again, it sounds really good on a lot of patterns. Okay, yeah, so the next thing that I wanted to talk about was the fact that these are a really good hub. I've got a bit of equipment here, an NTS1, a circuit tracks, a couple of craves, and the Arturia Micro Freak. really handy. I've also got a couple of pocket operators as well. Point being is everything syncs to this. If you're in Ableton, everything's going to sync to it because it's got USB. It's got MIDI in, it's got MIDI through. And one of the things that I really like on it is it's got sync. It syncs with everything, whether you're talking about pocket operators, whether you're talking about Korg Volkers, whether you're talking about the circuit tracks. It's got all the settings to be able to sync, all the PPNs and PPQs. It deals with everything well. Like I say, I've got two of them, or as you can see, I've got two of them. I've got two of them for a reason. They work really well together. They're in the center of my setup, so if for some reason I need to sync something on the far right to the far left and I haven't got a patch cable long enough, which I actually don't, I can just use them for a hub to hop from one to another. So from one mult out to one mult in to one mult out to my destination. On top of it, because my patterns are getting really complex and the modulation seems to be getting a bit more complex, having two of them, like I said before, it's just a no-brainer. I wouldn't like to think what these modules would cost individually in Eurorack land. I really wouldn't. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is the palette of them. I mean, obviously they're analog, they're one oscillator synths. Yes, I've got two of them, and yes, they've got a lot of modulation capabilities, but they only have basic wave shapes. Even with some of the modular tricks that I've seen, you know, to change the wave shapes and to morph them and to reverse them and invert them, it still leads you down a very similar path. I use them for bass. I use them a lot for that FM trick that I just showed you. They're really good for leads. They cut through. When people talk about things cutting through the mix, generally I just think it's volume. But they sound nice. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. If I was to compare them to other analog synthesizers that I've used in the past, they sound equally as good, but they don't have some of the bad caveats that the old ones used to come with. For example, extremely wobbly knobs. On the subject of wobbly knobs, I got two of these. The first one that I got, I thought that this tempo knob was really loose. It turns out it was really loose. I sent it back. They sent me another one and it was actually similar. I don't know why, maybe that's just bad luck, but this one on the left has no wobble on it at all. And they were bought from different shops. I'm not going to disclose which one's which, but they were bought from different shops in the UK. Other than that, you see that I've put a different knob on it. I bought some extra knobs from my Micro Freak, just more sensible looking ones, and I had some spare ones. And the thing that I like about these is, if I can get it off, well, they've got a lip. I don't know if you can see, but they've got a little lip on the side of them, and that stops it being able to wobble because it's closer to the actual unit than the knobs that come with it. So just for that knob, I've replaced that knob to save me either sending it back again and waiting ages for it. Alright, so moving on, sync capabilities, I've said they're excellent. I don't really see any problem with the sync capabilities on them at all. They're really good. You know, in most cases when you want to sync things, you either have to get a splitter or some way of doing it so that you can connect it to 4 or 5 things. Having 2 craves, I can connect it to 1, 2, 4 things at once, just with the sync jacks. Really good. Another thing that I like doing is using the Micro Freak to play the Behringer Craves. They've got an expression out, and the keys on them have I don't know what you call it. They're pressure sensitive. It's like a form of aftertouch, and it's really good. And even if you are, say for example, you have a sequence going on the Crave and you have a sequence on the Micro Freak that you're playing, as you're playing it, if you put some expression on it by pressing your fingers down to give it more of a contact point on the pads, then you can connect that expression to something like filter on the Craves, and therefore you will be editing the Craves filter as the Crave is playing while you're playing the Micro Freak. There are other videos to show you how to do that, so I'm not going to physically show you how to do that. The other thing I wanted to say is when these get compared to a Mother 32, I mean, I know a lot of people say that it's not a Moog, it doesn't sound like a Moog, blah blah blah. But from my point of view, the Moogs that are on offer for like £400 or £500 with one oscillators don't sound anything special to me. It don't sound much different to any other modern day so-called analog synth. They're not the same as they used to be. They're all using the same modern capacitors and stuff like that nowadays. So I really don't buy into the fact that one synthesizer costs £500 made by a company, another one costs 130. I don't want to get into semantics, but from my point of view, it's just a no-brainer. Two of these gives you way more than one Mother 32 would do, and you're going to walk away with enough change to possibly buy another two more. I'm not suggesting that you do that. If anything, I would pair this with a neutron if I was going to finish off my modular setup, but because of I'm getting quite into the digital side of things as well, especially as they're getting better because they're able to control modular stuff. So from my point of view, they are very, very much worth the money. What they do, what they're capable of, how they could fit into most people's setup, if not anyone's setup. The sound isn't identical, definitely not. And that was it really. The last thing I wanted to say is I think the build quality is quite good. I know they get a lot of bad rep, Behringer, but I do think that the build quality on this is alright. I mean, I've been using them both for a year now. I haven't come across any problems apart from that one wobbly knob. And my honest opinion, regardless, I think that you could find a wobbly knob on any synth by any manufacturer. I don't think the Craves are any different in that respect. Most of it's probably down to shipping and things like that. Do I think they're worth the money? 100% are they worth the money. Just trying to think if there's anything else that I've missed. No, I think that is it. Right, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully I'll do more. If you want any actual tips and tricks, although there are other videos out there, I'll be more than happy to do more. Like, subscribe, do what you do. Cheers.